Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome into this week's Elementary Lunch and Learn. I'm glad you've joined us. We've got a few more coming in. Excited today to share the topic of arts integration and talk about arts and all the subject areas together. So I'm going to talk for a minute, but while I'm blabbing away, you can jot down or take a photo or whatever you need of this bit.ly link. It is OKArtPD. It will take you to a website that has these slides there for you to click on and go through whenever you need. So jot that down or take a photo, and I'm going to talk for a minute. I'm Elizabeth Mon. I'm the project manager for Fine Arts at the Oklahoma State Department of Education. My contact info is on the screen there. You can reach out anytime. I'm also on Instagram. That's my handle, username, whatever it is. And then also on Facebook, there's an OK Fine Arts Facebook page. My background is in music education. I taught elementary music in Kansas, K through 6, and then I switched over to K through 2 with 6 through 12 band for a few years. I taught here in Oklahoma as well, came down to work on my PhD at OU, and then I taught in Norman and Piedmont, mostly elementary music again. So while I was there, I met my husband, and now I'm in Oklahoma. So as the Fine Arts Project Manager, I do serve all the arts subject areas, not just music, so I have to stretch myself sometimes to reach everyone across the field. So does everyone have the bit.ly link? Hopefully, yes? Okay. And Deanna, I'm not sure where family engagement is, but I know for today, this is arts integration. So you might have to check your email messages back on that to figure out where you should be. All right, so session goals for today. We're going to understand what arts integration is and what it is not. Explore the fine arts standards and how they can align with other content areas, and then also discover resources and lesson ideas for pre-K through 2 and 3 through 5. And I forgot to mention at the beginning, we do have a guest speaker from Oklahoma A+ Schools who will be introducing herself here in a little bit. So you'll get to meet her as well. Okay, so what is arts integration? The Kennedy Center, their education wing has a big focus on arts integration, and their definition is an approach to teaching in which students construct and demonstrate understanding through an art form. So the learning objectives are together on the same playing field. So you have the arts plus a subject area. So for example, not a great example, you might have science where students are building a rocket and then they paint it. So they could do more than painting, right? They could add pattern, they could add texture, they could, different artistic principles, design principles. But if they just paint it, then maybe it's not quite the level playing field of arts and science. If you flip that, let's say you're in music class and the students are talking about note values, and the teacher says, oh, by the way, these are fractions, right? And then they just move on. They go back to the song. So then math is not equally at the table, right? Because they just, oh yeah, that's fractions. And then we're moving on. So we're trying to make both subject areas equal partners at the table with the standards, with the focus of both subject areas, which means sometimes this can stretch us as teachers, as humans, because it may not be our exact strength that we're trying to pull in and integrate. So why do this? Why stretch yourself, right? Because you could easily just go on and do things the way you've always done. Well, we have a lot of research that shows that integration can really increase student engagement and motivation. A student who's disinterested in a subject area may be much more engaged when you pull something else in. For example, you're in math class, kiddo's always disengaged. I'm going to be stereotypical here and say it's a little boy. And then you mention statistics in athletics, right? Any professional sport. And all of a sudden, the light bulb turns on and the kid is engaged, right? Because they know sports statistics, they're interested in that, etc. So same thing with arts integration. It supports multiple learning styles. So you have those students who can't sit still in the chair, who really need to get up and move. You integrate dance in with the subject area and they can get up and wiggle, and all of a sudden they're having fun, right? They're wanting to be there in the subject area learning. That can work across all different learning styles. Enhances retention and depth of understanding. There's a study, which I'm sorry I don't have the precise citation here, but there was a study done a few years ago with science classes in an elementary school, and they had a control room where the science teachers taught their normal, typical lessons, and then they had an arts integration science classroom going on at the same time. They tested those kids, I think it was in December at the end of the semester. Everyone tested about the same. Nobody was really above bar. Teachers were doing well in both situations. But then when they tested them in May, so months later, the retention of the kiddos who had the arts integration was higher than the kiddos who didn't have the arts integration. So, somehow when they were filing away that science information in their brains, when they had the arts component, that helped them pull it back out a little bit more easily months later than the kiddos who only had excellent science instruction. And then also, we have Oklahoma statute that has in here that students should have access to the arts. So if you need your students to have access to the arts, arts integration is a great way to do that. I'll just read the last part of this. So it says, students therefore shall study social studies, literature, languages, the arts, mathematics, and science. So integration is a great way to meet that state statute. All right, so we're going to get a little into the weeds about the arts, and then we'll go into integration here. So when we're talking about arts, fine arts in Oklahoma, there are 5 different subject areas within that. So there's dance, pretty self-explanatory. Drama or drama theater is how you might see it referred to sometimes. Drama is the elementary wing of it. So drama is much more exploratory, experiential. We're just playing, right? Theater is theater. So a performance is at the end, etc. When we wrote the standards, the teachers were pretty solid in their conviction that the elementary kids should be doing drama and upper grades are theater. So that's why it's drama theater. Media arts, which is our newest subject area in Oklahoma. Media arts is film, which is growing quite a bit across the state. Animation, audiovisual, podcasting. In certain situations, it could also include photography and goodness, blanked out. Anyway, which photography can also live under visual art, graphic design. There's the word. So those are kind of dual subject areas, but can also be part of media arts. Then music, which you're probably familiar with, choir, orchestra in some situations, band, all those different types of things. And then visual art, which there's a lot of different specifics in visual art, drawing, painting, ceramics, all the things, right? Jewelry making. Okay, so we have those 5 areas, and then within the standards, when you're looking at them, we have 4 artistic processes that go across all the subject areas. So there's creating, pretty self-explanatory, performing or presenting or producing, depending on the subject area, responding to the art form, and then connecting, which is probably where you're going to be looking for things with arts integration. For visual art, these are named a little bit differently, but it's the same 4 artistic processes. And in pre-K through 5, all of the standards and objectives are really emphasizing a developmental progression. So you'll notice in pre-K and kinder, even the objectives might be the same. And then in kindergarten, it's building on that, right? And I think in art, sometimes there's even 3 grade spans where an objective is almost the same. And then they switch gears and go up a level in the following grades. If you need help with figuring out the fine art standards, you might want to come to the framework page. And I hope you're familiar already with the frameworks in your own subject area. But in case you are not, almost every single subject area that's supported in standards and learning in the SD has their own framework site. And these are all pretty great. They were built by Oklahoma teachers like you, which we are forever indebted to for all their really hard work. For the arts, we have dance, drama, theater, music, and visual art. We do not have media arts yet. It's the newest subject area, and it's difficult to unpack what that should look like in a classroom because it can be so varied: animation, film, etc. So we don't have a framework for that yet. But let's say you're wanting to integrate music. We're going to go into 2nd grade music. So in all the music intros, you'll see the artistic processes. That's just a definition of the different processes. It's the same across all grade levels. The area you probably want to get to is objective analysis, which we'll go into in just a moment. There are some assessment ideas if you need that, and then supporting learning for all students in music. This is universal design for learning and how it could look in a music classroom. So we're going to click into objective analysis, and these are all of the standards and objectives for second grade music. And let's say you're thinking, I'm doing a unit in social studies where we're exploring, I don't know, certain region of the world. So you might come to connecting. I think if you're starting with arts integration, connecting is probably the artistic processes that would be the easiest. And you might think, oh, we could go at this from a music and instrument angle, right? Not only look at the people and the general culture and what's there geographically, but we could also look at music and instruments. Sometimes the instruments come from the geography, right? What materials they have in the place. So this will give you some ideas on what the students could be doing, what you could be doing, key understandings, teacher insights, and then different ideas like Smithsonian Folkways has wonderful things. Carnegie Hall has music explorers. So you could pull these things in to your social studies lesson about the region of the world that you're looking at. So that is the framework. Jump back over. So a few alignment ideas before we dive into actual ideas that I'd like to share with you. General ideas, visual art and math, geometry and symmetry. An easy partnership there that you could build out. Dance and science, patterns and weather. I don't know. I guess our pattern right now is a lot of rain. So you could pull that in there, right? With a dance and what's the movement for rain? What does that look like? Thunder, etc. Drama and ELA. For those of you that have been around a while, you used to get certified in ELA and also teach drama, right? You were English certified and it was English theater back in the 80s and 90s. And then it's had a split since then. I think most states across the country have them separate now. But there's a very close companionship between writing and playwriting and acting and all those things. So narrative structure, dialogue, very close cousins there. Media arts and social studies. So you could have infographics, timelines of events, those types of things, and the students could be doing that on the computer, creating that through some sort of a media art, maybe creating little animations. And then music and math, I mentioned this before, but you could do it well, looking at rhythms and fractions and how those things tie together for your students. So here are some sample lesson ideas for pre-K through 2 that I found from different resources, and I'll have the overall sites for these at the end of the presentation. So this first one is dancing plants, dance and science. And this comes from the Georgia Department of Ed. They have a wonderful site. They call it Inspire. You may also see it referred to as their suitcase, but they have a whole bunch of arts integration lesson plans in here. So the learning plan is a dance, grade 1, first grade, and science arts integration lesson plan. And then if you click this little button, you'll see the different components. So here's the lesson plan. Now, of course, this is Georgia. So let's see if we can open it in a new window, make it a little bigger. So their standards are not the same as ours, right? They have their own state standards. But I know their art standards are a pretty close cousin to Oklahoma, and I imagine science isn't too far off. Like maybe these ideas are in second grade in Oklahoma or kindergarten or, somewhere else. So we have standard alignment here, which you might have to make some adjustments to. And then we have the materials needed, warm-up video, dancing plants presentation, which that PowerPoint is on the site, a variety of fresh produce representing different plants. And then it tells you a little bit of an opening for the lesson. And then the work session, that's really the body of the lesson instruction. So you talk about the different plant parts, what those look like, roots, the flower, stem, leaves. And then you ask them to work in groups to create a dance with a beginning, middle, and end. And the beginning needs to be the roots. So with their feet lower, maybe middle of the dance, the stems and the flowers coming up, and then at the end, stems and the leaves, excuse me. And then at the end, they are the flowers, right? And then they perform their choreography for the class. And they even have a summative assessment here. So it gives you all of that. Whoop, let me get rid of my toolbar. And then you will download the PowerPoint and see if it will open for me. Can you still see it? Yes? Okay, good. So it has pictures of roots and leaves. So if you can't get the veggies, or you'd rather not spend your hard-earned money. Rhubarb, love rhubarb. The flowers, I love the idea. Science teachers, you probably have thought about flour with cauliflower and broccoli. I didn't even think about that. It's like, oh, yeah, those are flowers. So all different kinds, talking about the plants, and then the choreography task. And I think a lot of their resources have a PowerPoint with them. I won't say all because I'm not 100% sure, but a lot of the things in the Godot Inspire platform have those with it. Okay, so then storybook soundtrack, slightly different source. This is from my slow internet. This is from the Institute for Arts Integration and STEAM. And it's right down here. So you create soundtracks using composition apps like GarageBand. If you have iPads, there's also apps within there that you could use to make sounds. There's music apps within Google. And so you create a sound story. You could create sounds to also go with the story that the students create or that you're reading to them. For example, you're reading Where the Wild Things Are, and when the wild rumpus begins, you borrow some drums from the music teacher and wild rumpus, right? So all those different kinds of things, letting the students figure out the sounds that would go with the story, creating those sound stories. Be really great if you did that for stories that they made on their own. And then pantomiming story problems. This one I'd never thought about. I feel like it's a little bit of genius, but this is grade 2. This is Godot again. Music and math, theater and math, excuse me. So what they're doing here is playing a drama warm-up game, and it's Bibbidi Bibbidi Bop, if you've ever heard of that. And again, you'd have to adjust the standards maybe a little bit because they might not be quite aligned with what we have here in Oklahoma. You have a PowerPoint presentation, classroom math tools, and you're talking about addition and subtraction. So adding to and taking away and part and whole. And then arts, vocabulary, gestures, pantomime, stage. So Bibbidi Bibbidi Bop is a game where the teacher's going around and they say Bibbidi Bibbidi Bop, and the student pointed at has to say bop before the teacher gets to the end of it. And the goal is to get the teacher to say Bibbidi Bibbidi Bop as fast as they can. And if they give an incorrect response, if the student selects a peer, they switch position, different leaders, etc. And then they're also going to add in gestures to it. And they're adding that in or taking it away. So they're talking about those different vocabulary words that the kids might encounter in word problems in the future, see something like increase and go, oh, wait, what? What does that mean? They could think of this game where they were increasing and get that additional reference for it. So she's saying addition, subtractions, etc. And then at the end, and then they go into this whole Apple thing where they're adding and subtracting again, different applications of it. And again, at the end, you have, and they have their own frameworks, where you have a rubric to see how the students did. So great support there from Godot. All right, then for 3 through 5, drama and social studies, inner monologues from history. This one comes from Kennedy Center. And this one, if you're doing a living history project type of thing, this could easily work. I'm not going to actually let it play, but they're looking at historical figures, creating an inner monologue, and then creating a little puppet to go with it. And then the puppet is saying the monologue. So they're, choosing Sojourner Truth or George Washington or whoever it is, creating that monologue, creating the puppet. You could easily make the puppet be a paper bag. You could also do the living history bit where they're dressed up as the person and they write their own monologues to share with people as they're going around, etc. So that's Kennedy Center. And then another idea, elementary math and art. I am going to let this one play for a minute because I found it interesting what she does with Andy Warhol. So
I've always had an interest in the arts, so using arts integration in my classroom has always been a passion point of mine. There are so many similarities between math and the arts. The strategies all stem from engaging students in a way that makes the math more concrete and visual while also eliciting critical thinking skills and creative thinking skills at the same time. A specific group of paintings that really sparked my idea for this project is an Andy Warhol piece. I knew I wanted to use it somehow to teach arrays. It's similar images over and over again, so you can see what you're counting. So when I did this project, the students were able to choose what they drew and model their pop art arrays and learn then to explain their thinking and how they created their equation. The next strategy that I used.
So yeah, just some different ideas. She has others in there that you can watch on your own time. And then, whoops, the last one here is creating a PSA. So this would be media arts and ELA and or science. You could even make this possibly go with social studies as well. There's quite a few different animation tools online, at least I know they were when I was teaching, that are free, that are easily accessible. So this is Storyboard that, one of those. So they're making a public service announcement about something. Let's say it's litter in Oklahoma, something like that. So you're choosing an issue and figuring out your hook and what you're going to do and why you need to persuade people with your PSA. So save the earth, wash your hands, etc. So another good idea for older students. Okay, so after those few ideas, I'm going to turn it over to Sandy Kent with A Plus Schools, and she's going to explain a little bit about where you can get more support for arts integration in Oklahoma.
All right. Thank you, Elizabeth. I am Sandy Kent, and I am the Executive Director of Oklahoma A Plus Schools. And some of you may have heard of us, and some of you may not. And we are the best kept secret, is what I say. So today, now you will know, and you'll help spread the word. But we have been around for over about 23 years now. I was a practicing educator. I was an elementary teacher, and then for 8 years, then I became a principal for 14. During that time is when A Plus came to be, and I wish I would have had it for the help and direction when I was a teacher, because I always was trying to connect and do integrated learning. I based a lot of my things in my classroom around social studies content, and then connected all the other areas in, including arts. But A Plus came along when I was a principal, and my schools, and I say schools because I moved around a few, all became A Plus schools, and it's something I very much believe in. Uh, I really love it because we design it for you and your school and your context. We have a basic framework of our essentials, which we'll look at in a moment, but it's really designed for your school. There is our website. Feel free to go and explore around there. You see the arts integration continuum here that we have. So with, Kennedy Center, all the places we are connected, we are involved. Arts integration, it used to be Education Closet. You just shared some of their things. We look at arts integration as a two-way continuum. There are times and reasons why it's important to teach arts disciplines or academic disciplines on their own. And there are skill sets, there are things you need to do that it'd be impossible to, not impossible, it'd be really difficult, or why would you integrate that? I mean, they're just basic things you need to know, and that's okay. Because I think sometimes people get afraid of integration, like you've got to do it all day, every day. And we don't see it that way. And we had a lot of effort from researchers, principals, teachers, lots of people input into this integration continuum. Then there are times, as Elizabeth's been talking about, enhancement, things where you touch on one or the other. If you're in an arts classroom, you might bring in just a little bit of history, or say, when we do this, it's like dividing in math, and you talk about it, you enhance it. You might play music in the background in your classroom, those types of things. Then there is the clear two-way integration where Elizabeth, what she's been talking about, and we love to see it. We work to get there, where you're really dedicated to, and it might be you and a colleague combined, and you are working in your classrooms, or so when they go to the arts class, they're working on the project. When they come back to your class, there's ways to do it that way. in collaborative ways, as well as if you are a self-contained classroom, you can bring that in and use the arts and art standards through that. So, all right, next slide, Elizabeth. So we offer a network of schools. Currently, we've trained well over 100 schools over the 23 years. Currently, we have 47 active schools coming up for this school year. We have schools from pre-K all the way. Honestly, we have adult learners because we serve public, private, and charter schools. And we have an adult learning academy in Tulsa that serves the mentally disabled. And so we're excited to be a part of that. We have another one looking at us as well. But primarily we serve pre-K through 12. We have high schools, elementaries, everybody's involved. It is a whole school training. So we are not a model of send a few teachers this year and send a few next year. If your school would like to do this, you come as the school, you dedicate your time and you say together, we're invested in this and we want to do it. These are our 8 essentials. So every A+ school that you will visit, this is the core, this is what they have in common. It will look and unfold differently in every school. And again, I can attest to that. The 3 different schools that I led that went through the entire A+ process, very different context. One was rural and higher income. One was my last one was a very low income school and high risk learners. And then I had one that was in between all of that. But each place we found, just as the research, so this is our very own Oklahoma research, and you can find our research out on our website as well. But the fundamentals of what happened was the same. Our student attendance went up, our teacher attendance and engagement went up. We had more parental involvement, more community involvement. Kids were taking a lot more ownership of their learning. And again, these are all things that were borne out in our research as well, whenever it was unfolding, and the OU, OSU, and UCO researchers were involved. So we take you through this framework, and really we're about doing school in authentic ways, but the arts are important. So many things cut the arts. And as Elizabeth, that's what this whole thing is about. It's right there in our state statutes and standards that the arts are to be taught, whether you have an arts teacher or not. And a lot of people get kind of afraid, I can't sing, I can't dance, I can't. It's not about what you can do. It's about you as the teacher providing the best for your kids and letting them know what they can do. So if you will dig into the standards and present the standards to them, let them take it from there. They will do it. I guarantee it. All right, next slide. Okay, so how do we do this? It is an application process. We're kind of in the middle of our application process right now. Applications will be due the end of October for this year. That would be, and then be training in the summer of 26, which is hard to say, summer 26. We are a 3-year implementation model. So those first 3 years, it's a lot of professional development coming your way. It's a lot of support with us coming into your school. Now, we are not we don't write curriculum. We don't hand you curriculum. We're a resource. We're a tool. We're a guide. I always say we're like the navigators. You guys, your school drives still, but we navigate and help your school to understand how to bring the arts, find connections, use your curriculum maps in different ways, those types of things. But in those first 3 years, you get intense training. So in the summer, if you are from somewhere further away from Oklahoma City, we pay for your hotel lodging, your meals, all of those things, and you spend 5 days with us. Your school spends 5 days with us. The next summer, it's 4 days, and the third summer, it's 3 days. And you get a lot of team time together. You get to interact with other network schools. There's a lot happening during that time. You really get to understand the basics of those 8, the framework, the 8 essentials that I just showed you. Year 4 and beyond, we have schools that have been with us for 23 years. We continue to design learning for you and your school and your needs and your changes. So we don't go away until your school says we want you to go away. And the big thing is, it's all at no cost to your district. We maintain funding and we do all of this at no cost. Occasionally, we'll travel. We don't pay for your travel to the city or anywhere, but again, we're coming to you a lot as well during the school year. Again, I can say from a practicing standpoint, we're not salespeople because it's not costing anything. This is, I want kids educated the best that they can be educated in Oklahoma and provide to you opportunity and way and to make it less scary. Because again, arts integration and arts. Now, you guys signed up for this, so you're clearly interested. But for those, you might have colleagues or principals that think, oh, it's not us. But as Elizabeth said, I mean, I always say, I mean, who isn't watching the Thunder right now? So go to a Thunder game. You are inundated with the arts at sports events. There's music. There's all kinds of graphics. I mean, how boring would it be? Everybody wants to know. They talk about what do the uniforms look like tonight? What are they going to wear? Which colors? That's all arts. If those people, if there weren't people designing those things, we wouldn't have all the, you know, all the, it adds to the action. It isn't just the sport. So we live in an integrated world and we want to help schools teach in integrated ways so that it makes more sense to kids for the world they live in. My contact and our program director, our contact is there. Feel free to reach out to us at any time, explore us, and ask questions. And I appreciate, Elizabeth, that you've included us in today's presentation.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'll share a link to the slides at the end again, so you'll have their contact information at the end of this. Besides Oklahoma A plus schools, which we are really lucky to have, I think are there 4 other states, Sandy, that have A plus schools?
Yes, North Carolina, Louisiana, and Arkansas. And then there's also South Africa A plus. We helped mentor, so there's a network down in South Africa. Yep.
Yeah, so we are a rare bird to have A plus schools. So we're very lucky. Other states get a little jealous when I mention it to them. So please take advantage if you have an interest there in working with them more in depth. Other resources for you to explore if you're looking for things. The Kennedy Center, as I mentioned before, this is their website link. The arts integration piece is a little buried. Well, there's part of it for PD in it at least. I think they might be doing some website redesign, so you'll have to do a little bit of digging, but it's there. And they have wonderful folks there. And then the Inspire site is here, but also I gave you a direct link to Georgia's arts integration lessons. So you can see they have 52 of them for K through 8. You might even be able to adapt these upper level lessons to fit upper elementary in Oklahoma, depending on what it is. So click through and see what you can find. This is free and open. It's not just for Georgia teachers. Georgia teachers can go in here and make their own specific edits and curate things to what they need, but anybody from across the country can use these resources. So we should really take advantage because my colleagues did a great job with that over there. And then, of course, we also have the fine arts standards, and I put a direct link to those in here if you'd rather have a direct link outside of the framework site. And this is, of course, our SDE site that you can get to all the other subject areas as well. So for the next 4 to 5-ish minutes, I'm going to let you have a little bit of brainstorm time to think about what you could possibly do this next year to integrate arts into your instruction. So thinking through an arts area and a subject area, just a brief snippet of an idea, not built out. If you'd like to use this integration planner, you are more than welcome to. Let me put this link in the chat. But you don't have to. You just think through on your own, scribble down on a piece of paper, and think through what you'd like to do. Maybe things that you've done in the past that you think, oh, we could add music to that. Oh, we could do this and just add art, whatever it is. So I'll give you a few minutes to think it through, and then we might unmute and share out some quick ideas. Don't try to rebuild the wheel. Think of something that you've done in the past that you could just enhance by adding arts to it. So I'm going to start the timer. If my internet will start it. There we go. And I'll give you a few minutes to think it through. 30 seconds. Okay. Anyone want to be brave and share? You can also type in the chat. If you'd like to unmute and share, though, you're more than welcome.
I just recently changed a few things in my classroom. I've started integrating because I work with younger kids, and we've been doing like the days of the weeks and the months of the year, finding songs that will help them make a connection to it. But then I also found one where teaching the kids syllables with the months of the year. And I was just trying to find something that would make learning a little bit more fun. I never saw it as art.
Yeah,
So
that's great. I don't know what the song is, but my daughter's in preschool and she's singing some sort of hip hop thing with the months of the year. She knows the months of the year. It's impressive. Cute
And
little song.
yeah. Yeah, I actually found there's a hip hop song for the days of the weeks and the months of the year, and believe it or not, they were both created by Snoop Dogg.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great example too of that arts enhancement that we do. Like you said, we just think of it as fun, but then it's an easy next step to go, oh, this is the arts and this is how we can expand it and bring in a little bit more and get more in depth and do a little bit of the arts intentionally. So great example.
And Valerie in the chat said in teaching phonics, she's used the Mexican hat dance and song to emphasize digraphs. Yvonne, you're going to have to enlighten me. What's a digraph?
So their sounds like SH makes a sh sound,
Oh, got it.
WH. So yes.
I got it. Yeah, that makes something that I love to do with fifth grade, which you need to have a little bit of a dance understanding and background, but George Washington loved to dance. If you look back up historical things at the time, like whenever he could get away from the front and they had a party, it was like roll up the carpets because George wants to dance. So we do quite a few English country dances and different things in my classroom. I can't remember the name of the one that was supposedly his favorite, but we danced through his favorite dance, right? So the kids could experience, and that's pretty amazing that you can experience the dance that he enjoyed, even though he's been gone for so long. It gives you a little bit of time travel as well. Also in the chat, Linda says in her pre-K class, she taught a math lesson using the song 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Once I Caught a Fish Alive, to teach the numbers 1 through 10, and the children would sing and dance to the song. For those basic 1 through 10, maybe even 1 through 20, this counting, there's a lot of songs and chants out there to reinforce that. Yeah, excellent. Okay. You can keep adding in the chat if you would like. Whoops, my timer's going again. Let's get past that. Okay. So just as a wrap up, because I wanted to keep you the whole hour, this is summer. You need to go put your feet up. But to wrap up, start small. Adapt your existing lessons. If you see a door, a bridge to something in the arts that you could pull in this year, then try to do that. Don't try to rewrite your entire curriculum or throw in a big arts and science unit in where it doesn't make sense or you haven't had experience before. Just start small. Try to align as best you can to both sets of standards. If you have an arts counterpart in your building, awesome. Pull them in for the conversation and see if they can help. If you don't, please feel free to make use of the framework site or reach out to myself. I'm sure if you had random questions, Oklahoma A Plus Schools would also help. I know a lot of our districts are struggling to find arts educators. So if you see a way to bring it in and you just need a little bit of support, we'd be happy to step in and help. Use ready to implement resources. Like I said before, the Georgia site, completely free and open, and they've made amazing things with their ESSER funds there. So we might as well take advantage of what they built for everyone. And then if you would like to get access to these slides, the bit.ly link is there for you to jot down again or take a photo of. And we would also love to answer any questions that you have. So feel free to unmute or add them to the chat. Sandy, we did so well, there's no questions. Okay, well, if you would like to get in touch with us, our information is in the slide deck, so make sure you jot down the bit.ly. We have another Lunch and Learn next week. Yvonne, do you know what the topic is?
Yes, it's actually play to learn.
Excellent, thank you. It's
Yes.
Play to Learn. Are you leading it?
Yes.
Excellent. And Yvonne's leading it. It should be wonderful. So be sure to tune in. It will be again at noon next Tuesday, same Zoom link. You don't have to change anything. We'll send out this recording and the link to the slides via email after this to everyone who registered. So if you have a buddy who missed, they will get the information. And you'll be able to tune in next week and join Yvonne and learn to play and play to learn. Okay. Well, I'm going to let you go to enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Let's hope we don't have bad storms this evening. And we'll see you next week. Thank you all.